We had Jerry Jones on this morning with Shan and RJ. He'll be on with us on Friday. But Corey said, is this what he said or is this what I wanted to hear? Let's go to cut 5, talking about the depth at linebacker.
Well, I'd say that your starters there, and that has different ways to view it. But your starters are certainly Neal, Parsons, Vander Esch, Smith. Those are the guys that have given us our best look and anticipating what we're going to be doing defensively.
Now, Mike, when I heard that this morning, I was waiting for Smith's name to be announced first. Because that's Jerry, right? I'm going to sell you guys. Jerry typically sells you, hey, this guy's good. But, when he was asked a long time ago by Shan and RJ about Smith specifically, he talked about Vander Esch the entire time. And then, in this, he started with Keanu Neal, who I think who has been really good. Like, Keanu Neal's been really good during preseason. And then he went to Parsons because he's a rookie, so he's number 2. And then Leighton Vander Esch, who's going to be one of your starters as well. And then Jalen Smith, he dropped that at the last second. So I don't know. For me, that sounded like a ranking. Is that a ranking, or is that just what I wanted to hear whenever Jerry Jones said that? I just feel like Jerry Jones, no matter what, he would have tried to put Smith's name first. But it feels like he looks at him as this is the order of talent we have at the moment.
I would agree with you if he wouldn't have said Neal first.
Really? Because
I don't think he's the most talented. I don't think he's going to play the most. I'm not saying he's bad. He's not. He's a solid rotational linebacker in the NFL. So if he would have said, to your point, if he would have said Parsons, Neal, Vander Esch, or even Vander Esch, Parsons, Neal, Smith, I would go with you. So I think he just named the 4 guys. But when he put Neal first, I can't go with he really believes or he's being told that Neal is going to be our best linebacker.
Do you think that Smith being last, though, is significant?
I don't, because I don't believe he put them in order. I think he's saying that these are we have 4 guys and we're rotating these 4 quite a bit.
Okay, so you think that we're going to see all those 4 guys out there, probably like you're going to see as much of Micah Parsons as we can have, right, is what I believe.
I think that it's interesting he didn't name Jabril Cox.
Well, I mean,
or did he?
He didn't. Not. He named those 4 names that you pointed to. I think that because he did try and do some qualification at the start of that. And the qualification was, depending on what is out there is basically what I took from it, depending on which formation. But I feel like he started with Neal and Micah Parsons because that's your starters in nickel. Yeah. And then he also mentioned Vander Esch and Jalen because those are your starters in base. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the way that he did that. And he might have power ranked it saying nickel is probably what you're going to play more than often than not, which is why he put it in that order.
I kind of agree with you there too, that you're probably going to see that the most. But I also feel like that's how, in my mind, it just feels like Jalen Smith has taken a tumble. In that Jerry Jones would typically drop his name first.
Like he would go, well,
Dorrance
obviously
Armstrong.
You have to start talking about Jalen and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's just the way I typically feel about it. But maybe I was wrong about the way that thing was ranked. That being said, I am kind of curious what kind of season, because I feel like Jabril Cox is a cheaper replacement for Vander Esch down the road.
Oh, sure.
Or maybe a cheaper replacement for Neal. I don't know what their love for Neal will be next year at this point. But let's say that you look at Vander Esch versus Cox next year. What kind of season does Vander Esch have to be back?
Well, and that's the thing that's a complicated question because if he comes back, it'll probably be because he had a quality season, right? Simplistic enough. But now he's not going to be under contract anymore. And so if he has a good enough season, either he'll be appealing enough on the free agent market that either he'll go elsewhere or you'll have to pay so much that because of the pay structure, he'll stay ahead of Jabril Cox. I think he has to have an injury-free, all-pro-esque season or be willing to get paid almost nothing to be back here. Like, I don't think middle ground makes sense to me for Leighton Vander Esch, because if that was the case, why not just accelerate the progress of Jabril Cox? Or something bad would have to happen to Jabril Cox.
Even knowing what we know about him, if he had an all-pro season this year, would you do it?
Yeah, if he had an all-pro type season, I get the concerns about his injuries, but now you're looking at somebody who 2 of the 4 years they've played, they were an all-pro.
Okay.
Like
all right.
That's not easy to come by. I get the middle 2 seasons are maddening.
Like I'm sitting here trying to push Jabril Cox up, into that group as quickly as possible, but at the same time, like there's nothing that says they have to bring Neal back. And he could play that role too. And I get, there are lots of different places to put these guys on the field. But at the same time, now I have 4 linebackers I feel that are quality, with Cox included in that group of 3. And I'm kind of looking at it. I think that they did a really good job. We kill the Cowboys on some of the decisions a lot of times, right?
Sure.
But this offseason, when they said, let's start with the linebackers, or whatever reason they got the linebackers, I think they did a good job planning for the future. I thought that was smart.
And a lot of this will depend, too, on how one of those picks, that future progress, takes place from Jabril Cox. That will also be a referendum about what they think about him. Because no matter how good Leighton Vander Esch is, if you're watching Jabril Cox and you're like, this kid's going to kick ass, and he costs almost nothing, there's always places on this team to spend more money on or not spend more money on. And so maybe even if Leighton, that's why I say there's not a middle ground. Like if he's like, oh yeah, no, he was good, I don't think that's going to be good enough if Jabril Cox goes at the pace that they anticipate.